maybe there are some things money can't buy. Thank you very much.
That was a truly exhilarating lecture, and I think one of the main reasons why it was exhilarating is really because of your mode of engagement, your style of engagement, which has become a signature of yours, I think. And one might associate this style of engagement with a Socratic tradition of teaching. That is to say, you begin with a case, some concrete situations, and then you pose your students or audience in this case with a series of questions that gets them to re-examine what they think they know or what they believe. It's a process that's indeterminate, it's contingent, there are no guarantees as to what the outcomes might be. And at the end of the day, I guess, in the process also we learn some skills and habits that may point to the possibility of a collective reason.
Yes.
Maybe even a shared morality. But we're here at the Singapore Writers' Festival. So I wanted to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to compare the task of doing this Socratic dialogue in doing philosophy with something else that you do very well, which is to write books on philosophy. And there are two different types of activities with their own norms and conventions. And I wonder if you would say something about what the strengths and limits of each of these might be, and which do you prefer to do?
Right. Each has its own rewards, but you're asking actually a deep philosophical question.
I didn't realize that.
No.
But thank you for pointing it out.
Well, for this reason. Socrates never wrote. He didn't. We only know about him because his student wrote about him and recorded or gave us an account of those dialogues. And so it would be as if Plato trailed him around to capture every encounter, at the Singapore Writers' Festival and elsewhere. And so that example suggests that maybe there is a tension between dialogue or dialectic, as we find in Plato's Socrates, and the activity of writing. I actually find it a challenge in writing to capture the spirit of dialogue that is easier to achieve by actually engaging as we've been doing this evening. I do find that not such an easy thing to do. The way I've tried to connect the two activities is in writing, and in particular the books that have been addressed to readers in general, not just scholars, Justice and What Money Can't Buy. And also an earlier book, The Case Against Perfection, about genetic engineering, is to build questions and dilemmas into the writing itself. But hearing the voices of the interlocutors, it's hard to replicate that on the written page.
Absolutely, I can well imagine that to be the case. I mean, there's an added complication, of course, which is you are also a celebrity in cyberspace, which means one benefit of that, of course, is your reach extends far and wide, and so there's great benefit in that. But do you find that you have to also adjust yourself in your internet appearances, when you teach online, when you attempt to connect with communities in countries where people don't even speak English? How do you engage? How do you conduct philosophy in that way?
Well, when we did this experiment, filming the Justice course that I taught for many years at Harvard and making it freely available online, it was an experiment in using new technology as an educational resource. And we had no idea what would happen. We also put it on public television, which is where we thought most people would see it. Well, that turned out to be completely wrong. Most people, far more people have seen it online. And one of the challenges that has created, it's created an opportunity so that now when I travel to places around the world, people are already so familiar with some of, at least with the way of arguing and participating by the audience, that it almost goes without saying. It makes it easier. But it's also true that people have heard a lot of the examples in the stories before. I remember one of the first visits I made to China after we put the course online. I think it was at Fudan University or maybe at Tsinghua. I went in and students had been watching this, and they tell us that over 20 million have watched it in the Chinese. We have a translated version, translated by volunteers. In China alone, they say 20 million have watched all or part of it. I went into this hall there, and I put to them a dilemma about a lifeboat, about sailors. It's a true story from British history. Sailors caught at sea in a lifeboat, desperate, and they killed and ate the cabin boy. And then they went back and faced trial. And so the dilemma is what to do with them and what ethically should they have done. In the justice class, there was a young man named Marcus, who was a freshman at the time. We filmed the class. And he had long dreadlocks, and he raised his hand, and he defended what they had done. And his argument, as he put it, you got to do what you got to do. And then we had a debate in the class, but that was part of the film. And when I was inviting the students at Fudan to give their views on the lifeboat case, some, before I could even begin, were citing Immanuel Kant and the utilitarian view, so they were already well informed. And one of them was taking a strong utilitarian line defending the killing of the cabin boy, and when I asked him why he thought that, why the utilitarian approach was right, his answer was, you got to do what you got to do. I thought, there's Marcus's line. And Marcus had found his way to Shanghai. And then I knew that something powerful was happening here. And not only did he answer in that way, when he did, everyone in the hall laughed with recognition. They knew that this was Marcus. So it's been an aid to, it's enabled these discussions to go more readily. There's a shared background of cases, of examples, of philosophical views, but it's also given rise to some amusing incidents like that.